Long ago, in the earliest age of the world, when the number of human beings upon the earth had grown great, there lived a man named Noah, a quiet, faithful man in a time when faithfulness had become rare. He was the son of Lamech, descended from a long line of men who remembered what it meant to walk with God, though by Noah's time most of the world had forgotten entirely. The earth in those days was full of people and full too of something far darker. Wickedness had spread across the land like a slow-growing shadow, until violence and corruption became simply the way things were. Every heart seemed turned toward evil, every thought bent away from good, until it was as if the whole world had made a silent agreement to abandon righteousness altogether. God, who had made the earth and breathed life into every living thing upon it, looked down and saw what his creation had become. And he grieved, not with cold judgment, but with the sorrow of a father watching everything he loved unravel by its own hand. It pained his heart deeply. He was sorry he had made humanity at all. But in the midst of that darkness, one man remained untouched by it. Noah was different. The Bible tells us he was righteous, blameless among the people of his time, a man who walked with God in an age when almost no one else did. He had a wife and 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and together they lived quietly, apart from the corruption spreading around them, though certainly not unaware of it. Then, one day, God spoke to Noah, and what he said was almost impossible to comprehend. "The end of all flesh has come before me," God told him, "for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I'm about to destroy them along with the earth." The world Noah had always known, the only world he had ever lived in, was coming to an end. And yet, in the very same breath, God did not leave Noah without hope. He gave him a task. "Make yourself an ark of gopher wood," God said, and then described it in careful, exact detail. 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high, with rooms inside and a door in its side, sealed with pitch inside and out. A vessel unlike anything the world had ever seen, built far from any sea, based only on the word of a God most people had stopped believing in. To anyone watching, it must have looked like madness. There was no rain like what was coming, not in living memory, not in any story passed down through the generations. And yet Noah did not argue, did not delay, did not ask for proof. The Bible simply tells us, in words that carry the weight of an entire life's obedience, Noah did everything just as God commanded him. Somewhere in that quiet obedience lived a faith stronger than fear, stronger than the mockery of his neighbors, stronger than the impossible scale of what he had been asked to do. And so, while the world around him grew darker by the day, Noah picked up his tools, gathered his sons beside him, and began to build a future that no one else could see coming. The building took years, long, patient years, in which Noah's life became inseparable from the massive structure rising slowly from the earth beside his home. Every plank of gopher wood, every seam sealed with pitch, every beam raised into place was another act of faith in something no one else could see. His neighbors watched, and their watching was not kind. They mocked him, surely. A man building an enormous ship on dry land, far from any river, any sea, any explanation that made sense to a world that had stopped listening to God long ago. But Noah kept building. Day after day, season after season, while the world around him carried on exactly as it always had. Eating, drinking, marrying, working, utterly unaware that time itself was running out beneath their feet. At last, the ark stood finished, a structure of staggering size, dark against the sky, waiting. And then God spoke to Noah once more. "Come into the ark, you and all your household," he said, "for I have seen that you are righteous before me in this generation." The moment had come. Noah was 600 years old, and everything he had built his life toward now stood ready to be tested. What happened next must have seemed like something out of a dream. From every corner of the earth, animals began to come, not driven by Noah, not gathered by force, but arriving on their own, as though some ancient instinct older than memory itself was calling them home. 2 of every kind, male and female, walked toward the ark in a procession too vast and too strange to be anything but the hand of God moving quietly behind it. Of the clean animals, 7 pairs. Of the birds of the sky, 7 pairs, so that life might be preserved and multiply again across the earth once the waters had done their work. Creatures that would never naturally walk beside one another moved forward together, side by side, entering the same dark doorway with no fear of what waited within. Noah gathered food for them all and for his own family, enough to sustain every living thing through days that stretched ahead unknown. Then, one by one, Noah and his wife, his 3 sons and their wives followed the animals inside. 8 people, the last righteous family on the face of the earth, stepping into a wooden vessel built on nothing but obedience. And then came the moment that must have felt heavier than anything before it. The Bible tells us, simply and quietly, that the Lord himself shut the door behind them. Not Noah, not with human hands at all. God closed them in, sealing them safely inside, and sealing the rest of the world outside in the same motion. Whatever was coming, there would be no reconsidering, no last-minute chance for those who had refused to believe. The door was shut. 7 more days passed in silence and waiting, the ark sitting finished and full, the sky above still calm, still dry, still giving no outward sign of what was about to break loose upon the earth. Inside, a family sat surrounded by creatures of every kind, listening to nothing but their own breathing and the quiet, terrible certainty that everything was about to change. On the 17th day of the 2nd month in the 600th year of Noah's life, it began. Not gently, not gradually, but all at once. The fountains of the great deep burst open beneath the earth, and the floodgates of the heavens themselves seemed to give way. Rain fell in a way the earth had never known, pouring down without mercy, without pause, for 40 days and 40 nights. And beneath the ark, waters that had slept quietly under the ground for all of history rose up violently, breaking free, joining with the rain above until the two became one single overwhelming force. Inside the ark, Noah and his family listened to a sound the world had never heard before. The endless roar of water against wood, hour after hour, day after day, with no end in sight. Outside, the world they had known was disappearing beneath the rising flood. The waters increased and lifted the ark high above the earth, and it floated upon the surface of what had once been solid ground. Higher and higher the water climbed until even the tallest mountains under the whole sky lay buried 15 cubits beneath the surface. Everything that breathed on dry land, every creature, every family, every person who had laughed at Noah's warning and gone on with their ordinary lives, was gone. The Bible says it plainly, with a weight that is almost unbearable to hold. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped away. Only Noah remained, and those who were with him in the ark. For 150 days, the waters prevailed over the earth. 150 days of nothing but water in every direction, no shoreline, no mountain peak, no sign that dry ground had ever existed at all. Inside the ark, the days must have blurred together into something almost unbearable. The same darkness, the same rocking motion, the same uncertainty of whether this floating wooden world would be the only world that ever existed again. And yet, in the middle of all that water, the Bible tells us something quietly extraordinary. God remembered Noah. He remembered the animals with him in the ark. He had not forgotten them, even in the depths of judgment poured out upon the earth. And so God sent a wind to pass over the earth, and slowly the waters began to subside. The fountains of the deep and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the rain that had fallen without mercy finally stopped. Little by little, month after month, the water receded, until on a day in the 7th month, the ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. Still it took time. The tops of the mountains did not appear until the 10th month, and Noah waited, patient in the same faith that had carried him through the building of the ark itself. After 40 more days, Noah opened a window and sent out a raven, which flew back and forth until the waters had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had receded from the surface of the ground. But the dove found no place to rest her feet and returned to him. And Noah reached out his hand and took her back into the ark. He waited 7 more days and sent her out again. This time she returned in the evening, and in her beak was a freshly plucked olive leaf. Noah knew then that the waters had receded from the earth. It was the smallest of signs, a single green leaf in the beak of a small bird. And yet it must have felt like the entire world opening back up before his eyes. He waited 7 more days and sent the dove out one final time. She did not return. Somewhere out there, dry land was waiting. In the 601st year of Noah's life, on the 1st day of the 1st month, the waters had finally dried up from the earth. Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked out, and there it was, the ground, dry and waiting, exactly as the dove's olive leaf had promised weeks before. But Noah did not rush. He waited still until God spoke to him directly, giving him the word he had been holding on to through everything. Go out from the ark, you and your wife, and your sons wives with you. Bring out every living thing that is with you, so that they may multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number upon it. So Noah came out, and with him came his wife, his sons, and their wives, 8 people who had crossed from one world into another inside a wooden vessel built on nothing but faith. Behind them came every animal, every creature, every living thing that had sheltered through the flood, stepping out onto solid ground for the first time in over a year. The earth they walked onto was not the same earth they had left. It was washed clean, silent, and utterly new, a fresh beginning where only devastation had been. The first thing Noah did was not to rebuild his home, or plant his fields, or take stock of all he had lost. The first thing Noah did was worship. He built an altar to the Lord and took from the clean animals and clean birds and offered burnt offerings upon it, an act of pure gratitude from a man who understood more than anyone alive exactly what had been given back to him. And the Bible tells us that the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma of that offering and said in his heart, "Never again will I curse the ground because of man, even though every inclination of his heart is evil from childhood. And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done." As long as the earth endures, he promised, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease. Then God spoke again, this time not just to Noah, but establishing something far greater, a covenant, a binding promise between himself and every living creature that had come through the flood. "I now establish my covenant with you, and with your descendants after you, and with every living creature that was with you," he said. Never again will all life be destroyed by the waters of a flood. Never again will there be a flood to destroy the earth. And to seal that promise, God gave a sign, something the world had perhaps never truly noticed before this moment. "I have set my rainbow in the clouds," he said, "and it will be the sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life." So Noah stepped into that new world beneath a sky marked, for the first time, with color bending across the clouds, a bow without an arrow, a weapon turned into a promise. Everything he had lost, everyone he had lost, remained behind him in the world that no longer existed. But ahead of him lay an earth washed clean, a family spared, and a covenant written not in stone, but in light itself, stretched across the sky as a reminder that would outlast every generation to come. What man had broken through violence and corruption, God had chosen even after judgment to begin again. Not because the world had earned it, but because grace, even in the aftermath of the flood, refused to run out. Noah didn't know how long the flood would last. He didn't know what he'd find when the waters finally receded. He simply trusted and kept building, kept waiting, kept believing, even when nothing around him made sense. Could you have trusted God the way Noah did? Building something the whole world mocked, waiting years for a promise you couldn't see? Tell us in the comments.